to the top story. U.S. lawmakers are set to vote on a motion brought by a Republican member to remove the Speaker of the lower house of the U.S. legislature. And joining me are Ms. Meera Shankar and Professor Swaran Singh. Ms. Shankar is a former Indian ambassador to the U.S. and Professor Singh teaches at Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi. Ambassador Shankar joins us from Greater Noida and Professor Singh from New Delhi. Ambassador Shankar, move to oust the Speaker reflect poorly on the Republican Party going into the 2024 presidential election?
Yes, Ramesh, that could be one element that party as it prepares to go for 2024 elections. The internal squabbles are sort of becoming much more visible. But that internal squabbles are, almost across party lines in that sense. What I see here is that there are also personality traits. The senator who's raising this proposal, Matt Gaetz, was one of the important holdouts during very complex elections of Kevin McCarthy in early January. In fact, there are reports that there were almost likely of fistfights backstage after the election was done. So some of that personality clash continues. Some of the clash between Republicans and Democrats also continues after election in January 7th. He had spoken about bringing Democratic leaders to subpoenas or investigations and so on. The investigations against Hunter Biden going on. But at the same time, I think everybody is also conscious, and in that sense, to some extent, de-ideologization in that sense. They're not driven by strictly party positions and party lines. McCarthy does have support among Democrat House representatives. Many of them, in fact, are already coming out. Particularly, his Republican friends are coming out to say that he should continue to stay in the chair. As we understand, in case worst case scenario he is ousted, then it might be up to 6 weeks. No work happening in that sense.
Right.
So he has given that stopgap kind of funding to Biden administration, but still held back the Ukraine in that sense.
Okay.
So internally, it fundamentally shows continuing squabbles and personality clashes. But on Ukraine, it has a very clear signal. I think that the United States, may be seen.
Professor Singh, I'll come to Ukraine in just a bit. We talk about Ukraine now. A far-right Republican lawmaker from Florida, Matt Gaetz, is asking McCarthy to reveal the details of an alleged deal with the ruling Democratic Party to bring forward a bill to help fund the war in Ukraine. McCarthy denies striking a side deal on Ukraine in return for the Democratic Party's support for averting a U.S. government shutdown. Why are the Republicans so dead against allocating more money for Ukraine?
I think it's also in terms of putting some restraint on President Biden.
Okay.
As he goes for his next elections, and his Ukraine policy would be under scrutiny as to how has United States supported Ukraine and to what results in that sense. So to make him relatively weak on that important issue could be why Republicans unanimous, I think, would not like to see funding continuing easily for Ukraine, and that would also impact the United States leadership with its own friends and allies in that sense. So on foreign policy, Ukraine being a very big issue, would see them holding out sort of possibilities of passing any bill for financial support to Ukraine. We have heard both Antony Blinken and, of course, Lloyd Austin openly saying that there is no more any money left to continue supporting Ukraine. They have gone public about it. And despite that, apparently, if Ukraine support has been sort of withdrawn or not allowed to continue, it's I think clearly indicating that it possibly is driven by the coming elections and how President Biden is obviously a candidate to continue, as he says, to take his next term. And Ukraine policy will be an important issue for debate in elections in the coming year.
Right.
So that could be an important reason, but I think it's also fundamentally a combination of squabbles within political parties and groupings and personality clashes and all
Right.
that put together. But ultimately, also being that I don't think Kevin McCarthy will be allowed to go, and that would create bigger chaos
All right.
than they can afford.